ExxonMobil gives assurance of commitment. World Peace Day recognized in Port Moresby.
Peace is the foundation.
And the Aussies have arrived.
This is National EMTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Thursday's news. ExxonMobil, the operator of the multi-billion US dollar PNG liquefied natural gas project, will continue to be one of Papua New Guinea's strongest supporters. This reassurance came during a meeting between Prime Minister Peter O'Neill and ExxonMobil Chairman and Chief Executive Officer Darren Woods and Senior Vice President Jack Williams at the company's global headquarters in Dallas, Texas today. Prime Minister O'Neill said he was confident of the growing commitment by ExxonMobil in the PNG economy, while saying there is scope for even greater investment and job creation from one of PNG's largest foreign investors. ExxonMobil executives congratulated PNG on hosting APEC next year and said they were also working closely with PNG's APEC organizers to make the event a success for Papua New Guinea. Founder of the Peace and Gutpla Sindown Foundation, Wat Kidi, says peace is the solution to life. Mr. Kidi said despite the diverse cultures of Papua New Guinea, embracing peace can be a turning point for the country. The foundation was joined by the public in the nation's capital to celebrate the International Day of Peace today.
Despite the poor turnout at the Jack Piddick Park, members of the Peace and Gutpla Sindown Foundation embraced the significance of the day. They were joined by officers from the police and PNG Defence Force. Founder Wat Kidi says if peace is embraced by every individual, many things can be achieved in a short space of time.
It will allow us to prosper. It will allow us to enjoy life. It will allow us to live long lives. It has so many good benefits. Peace can prosper. Peace is the foundation for a lot of good things to happen.
Mr. Kidi believes the message of peace must reach everyone regardless of color, ethnicity or gender. He says peace is the path to a better country.
Peace is so vital in this country. Without peace, we will continue to see the breakups, the missing links.
The Peace and Gutpla Sindown Foundation is a small organization, but with many plans. The organization has received little support from stakeholders and government agencies. Founder Kidi says maintaining peace is everyone's responsibility.
Small things like, swearing to no swearing, having fear to having no fear. Why should we have fear in our own country? If you're having fear, that means there's peace missing.
Evening programs will include songs, peace and prayers. The International Day of Peace is sanctioned by the United Nations and is observed all around the world.
Let us all come together at the peace for each other.
Jack Lapava Jr., National EMTV News.
An arrangement between the governments of Papua New Guinea and Australia will see an improvement to the transport sector. It is a 2-year partnership arrangement which will support the department in delivering safer and more reliable air, land and sea transport services. This arrangement comes as the country prepares for the 2018 APEC summit, which will see another transport sector meeting.
The Transport Minister says service delivery is a big challenge. With bad weather and different terrain, many parts of the country still lacking a proper transport system. However, this arrangement will provide an opportunity for better planning and policy making for the transport sector. Part of the arrangement is to enhance the national weather services for weather forecasting and developing transport safety.
The support package that we signed today, it will provide the technical skills to assist the department to develop a realistic and rational plan, which is sensitive to the available funding and the needs of our people. I am looking forward. I'm looking forward with other government departments and also the sector agencies to create a plan that we can implement and monitor, which focuses on the priorities of the sector.
This morning, Transport and Infrastructure Minister Wesley Nukunj and Australia's Minister Councillor Benedict David signed the partnership arrangement, which ends in November 2019. They have become the sixth organisation to sign the agency support agreement.
It will focus on a number of priorities, and I'll just go through some of those. It will support Papua New Guinea's preparation for APEC 2018. Planning for the future transport policies and strategies, which will set out how best to ensure sustainable investment in the sector, and very much aligning it to the new government's new priorities and plans. Strengthening budget development, boosting capabilities at the National Weather Service, supporting a clear legal framework for the sector and support for the legislative drafting process. It will support seeking to optimise sectoral funding arrangements and support ongoing institutional reforms. So a key part of it is helping the department and government think through the long-term financing arrangements for the sector and innovation in that space. Regulatory functions across land transport, maritime and aviation.
A key role of the arrangement is to expand the sector's executive leadership program for female leaders, with one female leader who is currently part of the program, Dina Inape Omenefa, who has become the TSSP Component 2 Assistant Manager. Marilyn Daukatama, National EMTV News.
World Vision will be hosting its second annual Hanobada Water and Healthy Life project this Saturday. The project aims to address waste management and pollution by involving locals in awareness of this environmental concern and to ensure a cleaner environment. It is supported by the New Zealand Government and World Vision New Zealand, with the special guest who is expected to be New Zealand High Commissioner. The program registration begins at 6:30 a.m. This year's event project partners are NCDC, Moto Koita Assembly and the PNG Olympic Committee, and also supported by other corporate sponsors. Last year, they removed up to 40,000 tons of solid waste. Lands Minister Justin Chichenko is planning to turn settlements within Port Moresby city limits into fully fledged suburbs. He says this is one way of controlling increasing incidents of illegal land grabbing. Mr. Chichenko will be discussing this ambitious plan with NCD Governor Paul Sparkop and Housing and Urbanization Minister John Kaupa.
This is not the first time Chichenko is talking about converting settlements within Port Moresby city limits into suburbs. He was also vocal about this issue during his previous term in Parliament. Among his ideas was to turn settlements in his electorate of Moresby South into proper suburbs, complete with proper running water, fixed sanitation and suitable roads. He is also proposing that proper allotment numbers be provided to individual blocks, as well as building built according to the regulated standards.
Settlement to suburb. This was a campaign strategy that we put in place. We need to set that model in place. We cannot have evictions and people being removed from Housing Commission properties and from settlements and other land issues when a lot of these people have been there for 2 or 3 generations.
As settlements continue to increase, Chichenko plans to work together with NCD Governor Paul Sparkop and Housing Minister John Kaupa, who is member for Moresby North East.
This is a situation that will be revolved around working with all different departments, police, Housing Commission, NCDC, Lands Department, many different departments working together to resolve the issue.
All this because land continues to be a valuable asset. Chichenko says he is willing to work together with all stakeholders to see his proposal through.
Land of our people that rightfully deserve to be given the opportunity to have it first.
With the increasing development taking place in NCD, Chichenko is hopeful that proper suburbs with reliable water, proper sanitation and electricity can be realized. Godwin Eki, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. Among stories after the break, an East New Britain school celebrates its 80th anniversary, and a couple in Lane who have ventured into growing their own rice right in their backyard. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National EMTV News. The Kambubu Adventist Secondary School in East New Britain is celebrating its 80th anniversary this week. The Seventh-day Adventist-run institution began as a pastoral college but later transformed into an educational institution. It is one of the oldest learning institutions in the country, established by early Christian missionaries in the 1930s.
Kambubu Adventist Secondary School may not be as popular as other learning institutions in the country, but what stood out from this learning institution is its history that traces back to the 1930s. Tucked away along the southern coastline of Port Moresby district, the school is one of the pioneer training grounds for Adventist missionaries in the early days. The school was established purposely to prepare missionaries to teach the gospel in all corners of the Bismarck archipelagos, the mainland of Papua and the nearby Pacific Islands. The first Adventist missionaries who arrived on the shores of New Guinea landed here on large sailing boats. They brought with them not only the gospel but the enthusiasm to teach. This week marked the 80th year of its existence. The Seventh-day Adventist clergymen from all over the country, the Pacific region and the world came together to celebrate its 8 decades of instilling spiritual, physical, mental and social development to its students. Kambubu Adventist Secondary School is one amongst other SD-run institutions established in other parts of the country. Today, the school does not only train pastors and missionaries, but also became a training ground for upper secondary education, teachers, skilled workforce and farmers. And since its establishment, the school hopes to remain true to its purpose by offering great achievements to those who will set foot here. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
Elementary teachers in Moresby province are still teaching without pay. Some of them have waited for more than 4 years. They have sought explanations regarding the delay of their pay at both the district and provincial level. Moresby's provincial education advisor told EMTV News in Ley that the provincial elementary officers are currently at PNG Education Institute in Port Moresby to sort out this issue.
The teachers were told by the Provincial Education Department to pay 1,300 kina to attend a teacher training at Markham District in 2015 to be registered as qualified elementary teachers. They were told that they would be on payroll if they pay that fee and attend the training.
And we managed to send some elementary trainers down to the province, to the headquarters, Port Moresby last week, and hopefully some will follow this week. Basically to go there and make sure that the backlogs and those teachers are yet to be on the payroll be sorted out, because it's been taking too long.
The training was nullified and they didn't graduate with certificates. Most of the teachers who attended the training are ones with grade 10 qualifications. They were told that they would not be paid by the government because they are not qualified and that they would have to upgrade their qualifications to grade 12 to be put on payroll.
Primary, secondary, TVET, some teachers are also affected. Affected in terms of not being on the payroll, especially the new graduates, the readmissions.
The teachers are still teaching without pay and are calling on the Provincial Education Board to seriously look into the matter as it is affecting them. The delay of the clarification of the teaching service is between the Provincial Education Department of Moresby and PNG Education Institute. Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Ley.
The CLC Church of Papua New Guinea has launched a program that aims to help fathers understand their roles in society by emphasizing on men's importance in families. The Father's Heart program, launched today, will address health, violence and other social issues based on training modules specifically for men. The Governor-General and other senior officials were present to witness the launch of this program.
The Governor-General and other senior officials came to witness the launch of the Father's Heart International Program. The program launched today stresses on the importance of fathers knowing their roles in today's society.
We build families and fathers on the Christian place normal true. Everybody we got good plan, country, good plan community.
Training modules have been written for the program.
The root cause of many problems in the nation or even in the world is simply because fathers are not taking their place.
It is focused on character building and addresses social, health and violence issues.
That is an ancient problem which we as a church, maybe in many ways have not addressed.
The Governor General said Bob Dada was given the honor of launching the program.
Officially open, launched.
He said it is an important concept that needs support from stakeholders.
CLC has taken a right move in coming up with this program, where you have to take head of a family, give them necessary training.
Provincial Administrator Sheila Harrow said the administration will be supporting the program.
Programs that are being run, it's all targeted at women and children, and some at youth. Fathers are left out. So basically, this program will bring the fathers on board.
Lucy Kopana, National EMTV News, Leh.
A Moresby couple who have begun planting rice say their farm began as a hobby and is now growing into a small project that will eventually ease their dependence on commercially sold rice. Neko and Haiveta Babul began experimenting with a small plot of rice several months ago. They now plan to expand the small project.
Haiveta Babul used to live in Port Moresby with her husband and family. Upon retirement, both husband and wife returned to the Moresby province.
My son went to Arab, brought some seeds along.
In the last 12 months, they've started planting rice on their family land. It first began as a hobby and an experiment. In each plot, they drew important lessons.
Because time all planning banana lo garden, or still man kisin. Taro, kau tapiok, or piggy sa bagarapin. So look milo rice. You plan him, now he stop hard old man by stealing because...
But here's the backstory. Months before the rice planting began, Mr. Babul was attending a rice conference at the National Agriculture Research Institute. He spoke strongly and passionately about reducing imports and growing rice.
Hey, 42 years, we independent, why aren't we eating our own rice? Why aren't we exporting rice? So for that reason, I'm not even a rice farmer. So that's why, mother, I'm saying, of course, hey, you go up here, go and plant rice. So that's why we are planting rice.
Without even having a rice paddy to start with, Mrs. Babul challenged him to live up to his words by planting his own rice.
1 billion we are importing rice, hey. But we have been growing rice since almost independence. So why aren't we, like exporting rice, eating our rice and exporting it?
Rice was introduced in the Moresby province over 100 years ago by German missionaries, but it didn't take hold as a desirable crop to plant, probably because of the labor-intensive nature of having it processed. Now, nearly 2 centuries later, there is new interest in rice growing. Chukai Industries, in partnership with Nari and Unitec, has been trialling varieties which they hope will produce the yield required for sustainable commercial production. For now, Mr. and Mrs. Babul say they're content with planting enough rice for their own family. Scott Waide, National EMTV News, Leh.
A 3-day workshop involving district planners, administrators and stakeholders is currently underway in Port Moresby. Aimed at developing a national service delivery framework, the workshop will enable the government and its district development partners to properly plan and deliver basic services. The workshop is hosted by the Department of Provincial and Local Government Affairs in partnership with the National Planning Department.
According to the National Planning Secretary, the workshop will discuss mechanisms to effectively deliver services to all corners of the country. It involves key partners from both the public and private sector.
The partnership is basically for us to work together to ensure that we deliver services to our people where they are right now. And the partnership also involves bringing the people that matters the most, the provinces, the districts, the LLGs.
The 3-day workshop will work towards developing the country's first national service delivery framework, something Secretary Harris says has been a key focus of the government to develop.
We've been trying to make sure that there's a mechanism in place that will be able to coordinate resources that we have in a well-coordinated manner, government resources, development partners resources, private sector resources, so we target areas that matters most in terms of service delivery.
From the Secretary of Provincial and Local Government Affairs, he says they are working on developing service partnership agreements that will involve all levels of governments, including provincial and district administrators.
And we have now developed what we call service partnership agreements, which provinces, the governors and open members and my minister and of course planning minister would have to sign to see that those standards are met at the districts and of course LLGs and the provinces, so that we can see services reaching our people. And I think this is for the first time that this change has happened.
The Prime Minister is expected to launch the National Service Delivery Framework next week, along with a ward record book.
He'll be basically launching the service partnership agreements and of course the village record or ward record book for us to put it all to our wards in the country, so that we can have a proper data in terms of population, in terms of everything that we need, because communities will know who is there and what is not there, so they can report on those things.
Stanley Over Jr., National EMTV News.
We take a look at the finance news now, and the kina closed unchanged at $0.3125 in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.305, $0.3767 Australian dollars, $0.2526 euro, and 33.91 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold closed lower, coffee and cocoa closed higher, and copper closed unchanged. Palm oil closed higher, crude oil and copper closed the day lower. And on the stock markets, the Dow Jones closed 41 points higher, the ASX closed 53 points lower, and the All Ordinaries 53 points lower as well. You're watching National EMTV News. We'll have for you the stories making headlines overseas when we return. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas now, it's the biggest storm Puerto Rico has seen in 90 years, Hurricane Maria, leaving the entire island without power and devastation in its path. The island's 3.5 million residents have been warned to stay indoors amidst fears of more flooding damage.
Direct hit, devastating Puerto Rico. The first Category 4 storm to strike Puerto Rico in 85 years, slamming ashore around sunrise.
We are back here on the northern side of San Juan here. I can only imagine what went down when this thing made landfall in the southeast corner of this island. Obviously the eye getting closer and closer to us, that eye wall now scraping the northern beaches here.
Roofs peeled from buildings, debris flying. Structures collapsing. Up to 30 inches of rain in some areas, engulfing whole neighborhoods. Michelle Torres using everything she can to keep the water out.
The wind howls and screeches, the doors rattle.
We are outside of San Juan in the town of Guaynabo. It was hit very hard. A lot of destruction to homes, down trees and power lines as well. And now they're dealing with this, flooding in every direction. The emergency management director saying the entire island is destroyed. Many of these homes not built to withstand any hurricane, let alone a Category 4.
Well, the hurricane came and took my house.
Is it all wind damage? Is that what happened here?
Wind damage.
Hospitals damaged, running on generator power. 12,000 people heeding the call to get to shelters, including our hotel's ballroom. Evacuees moved off this arena floor due to safety concerns. The howling wind piercing the darkness. Terrified residents singing about strength during trying times to ease the fear.
Emergency services in Mexico are desperately searching for any survivors after yesterday's 7.1 magnitude quake, which has killed more than 200 people. It's the second massive quake in 2 weeks and the deadliest in 90 years.
Mexico, they are desperate for signs of life. Here, a terrified boy trapped under the remains of his classroom. This was his primary school. It collapsed just after lunchtime when the earthquake struck. At least 20 are known to have been killed here. Many more are missing. This school has become the grim symbol of Mexico's loss. The Mexican president visited the school to see the rescue operation for himself. And there have been moments of hope. Several have been pulled out alive, but the window to find others is closing fast. It is today that the full scale of the destruction in Mexico City has been revealed. and more buildings collapsed overnight. Here, the rescue workers raised their hands to ask for silence, to hear any calls for help from under the rubble. But no joy this time. This CCTV footage is from a shopping centre as the roof begins to collapse. This woman getting out of the way not a moment too soon. And on their mobile phones, people recorded countless shocking videos of buildings collapsing. Here, an office block. There is destruction and loss in Mexico City, but the epicenter of this massive earthquake was some 75 miles away. And the full extent of the damage this tragedy has wrought in more remote communities is still unclear.
The world is watching as the White House grapples with two nuclear-related confrontations. There's political fallout over President Trump's fiery warning to North Korea on Tuesday and concern whether he will pull the U.S. out of the Iran nuclear deal.
Listening to President Trump talk about the Iran nuclear deal, it sounds as if he's setting up another reality TV-style cliffhanger.
I've decided. I'll let you know. I'll let you know.
All week long at the United Nations, the president has signaled he may be on the verge of scrapping the Obama administration agreement designed to pause Iran's nuclear weapons program.
Shock.
Adding to the rising tensions, Iran's president condemned Mr. Trump's speech to the UN.
The ignorant, absurd, and hateful rhetoric filled with ridiculously baseless allegations.
The president is offering no apologies for his UN address.
Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself and for his regime.
Despite the complaints from Democrats.
You have to ask yourself, is America safer because of Rocket Man? Did we bring anybody to the table as a consequence of that language?
Including Hillary Clinton.
I thought it was very dark, dangerous, not the kind of message that the leader of the greatest nation in the world should be delivering.
The depraved
Top Trump administration surrogates appear to be attempting to soften some of the president's tough talk. Take UN Ambassador Nikki Haley's caution on the Iran nuclear deal.
It's not a clear signal that he plans to withdraw. What it is a clear signal that he's not happy with the deal and that the United States is not safer because of it.
Making a rare public appearance in New York, former President Barack Obama didn't mention his successor by name, but he seemed to call on the world to reject the divisive politics that launched Mr. Trump into power.
The rise of nationalism and xenophobia and a politics that says it's not we, but us and them.
Across town, the First Lady was giving a speech about children being exposed to the dangers of bullying on, of all places, social media.
We must turn our focus right now to the message and content they're exposed to on a daily basis through social media, the bullying, the experience online and in person.
Critics wonder whether those pleas to stop bullying should be directed to the president, who just last night slammed the Emmy Awards, tweeting, "I was saddened to see how bad the ratings were on the Emmys last night, the worst ever. Smartest people of them all are the deplorables." Perhaps the president wasn't a big fan of former press secretary Sean Spicer's latest spin at the podium.
Here with National EMTV News, Trukai Sports is next, and the Aussies have arrived. Both the Australian Gillaroos, the Women's National Rugby League team, and the Prime Minister's 13 touched down in Port Moresby today. We'll have that and more when we come back. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The Aussies are here. The Australian Prime Minister's 13 and the Gillaroos arrived in Port Moresby today at the Jacksons International Airport. They were greeted by a large crowd waiting outside the airport.
Many people gathered outside the ceremonial park at the Jacksons International Airport, waiting patiently to catch a glimpse of the NRL superstars. The airport was packed with officers from the Royal Papua Constabulary who kept the crowd under control. The Gillaroos and the Aussie PM's 13 made their way out to a welcome from the Central Sing Sing group. The crowd anxiously waited outside while the teams made their way to the buses. Many children shouted their favorite players' names. As the buses drove out of the ceremonial park, the crowd erupted, running to the buses to get a closer look. Security staff struggled to contain the huge crowd. The Australians were in awe as they witnessed the crowd reactions. They will be at the National Football Stadium tomorrow running the League Belong Life Clinic program before the match on Saturday. Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
And all four teams are looking forward to the match on Saturday at the National Football Stadium. Oil Search PNG Orchids captain Kathy Nip says they are ready to take on the Jillaroos.
The girls are ready to take on this journey, and it's a big challenge to all of us because it's going to be the first ever international game played, and we are ready for it.
We're very happy and privileged to have the support of Oil Search to make it possible that Papua New Guinea is a women's team in the rugby league.
Back in 1982, Val and my father Rowan, they come over and toured and played a test against PNG before they went on to the Kangaroo Tour in England.
It's good fun to play against these guys. Obviously, it's they've got their PNG Hunter side in the Intro Super Cup Grand Final this week. It shows you how far they've come with their rugby league, and for them to showcase their local sides that get to play up here. I'm sure they'll be coming out firing.
We picked our strongest available side, so we talk about obviously the players will still want to be playing for their clubs, in the finals, but with obviously the colour of players like Aaron and the team we brought up last year, it's out of respect for the green and gold jersey, but also out of respect for this game.
Preparation's been good. We've had boys coming from the Tigers and the Guerrillas that's both made up the core of the team, which we just finished from the grand final, so we've still got the match fitness and things like that. We've brought in the other boys with Stanley and myself, and we've been gelling quite well. The start of the week was a bit slow, a bit shy as all Melanesians are, but as the week has come along, they've laughing and carrying on.
But then game da samla school mem da kare go begen lo community lo developing strong men we by violence against women as like in school mem like so.
Papua New Guinea's Pacific neighbours and Melanesian football rivals, Solomon Islands, squandered a myriad of opportunities against Vietnam in their final match in Group A. The Solomon Islands futsal team, the Kuru, ranked 43rd in the world, were unable to contain Vietnam for long periods of the match, running off the back foot from as early as 3 minutes into the match. Jeremy Mogi reports from Turkmenistan.
The Kuru were heading into this match having had 2 wins over Hong Kong and Chinese Taipei, although a 4-2 loss to host Turkmenistan would set them back from second spot in the group. While for Vietnam, while they had an opening loss, a crushing 8-0 victory over Hong Kong would see them have the upper hand heading into this encounter. They would use that to their advantage, scoring from almost the start, 3 minutes in. A lapse in defense from Solomon Islands and Duc Hoa Pham struck for Vietnam. Solomon Islands had few chances in the first half, and those were wasted. The second half saw a resurgent Solomon Islands. Indeed, Anthony Talo and Alvin Ho more direct play testing Vietnam's defense. But the side nicknamed the Golden Stars' quick counter and more physical approach again had Solomon Islands on the back foot. And while it seemed that Vietnam were destined for an easy victory, a much-deserved goal to George Martin Stevenson shocked the Asian side, which is ranked 4th in the region. Coach Jerry Sam nonetheless pleased with his side's performance.
For the whole week, that game after day, and the team that we travel is like we have a lot of young boys in the team, so we have only like 5 experienced players. But the purpose of bringing this team here is for the young boys to expose and see what's the teams like in Asia.
The Solomon Islands need host Turkmenistan to defeat Vietnam by 8 goals or more in tonight's final Group A encounter in order to give the Melanesians a shot at the quarterfinals. And while that scenario may seem unlikely, stranger things have happened in sport. Jeremy Mogi, EMTV Sports, Turkmenistan.
And Trukai Sports continues after the break with karate, a coaches summit, and the plans for basketball after FIBA. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To karate, Kyokushin karate instructor Silas Piscaut and black belt contender Carl Gunis are on track to represent Papua New Guinea at the Oceania Kyokushin Conference in Perth, Australia. The duo received a timely support of 10,000 kina from Lay Biscuit Company in Port Moresby today.
Combatants Silas Piscaut and Carl Gunis were humbled today with a kind gesture from Lay Biscuit Company sales manager Sultan Lacey Ori.
We Lay Biscuit, on behalf of our CEO, Ian Chow, we just want Silas's logistics to take part in this tournament and then also the training down in Perth, Western Australia.
Silas, who currently holds a second-degree black belt in Kyokushin Karate, has been serving as an instructor under Chief Instructor Senpai Bernard Soari Sodan at the Erima Dojo and will represent PNG in the conference with other Pacific countries in Perth, Australia next month.
To represent the country, to promote Kyokushin at the next level especially. What was represent Papua New Guinea because to attend the press conference in black belt press conference in.
The meeting will see Piscaut recognized for his active involvement in martial arts.
To come up this far to represent the country, and it's just a special thing to both of us. It's Nexus being like our main sponsor. To me, it's like, it's gold. And
meanwhile, Carl Gunis will strive to attain his first-degree black belt at the meeting, which will see Gunis take part in a 40-man combat to qualify him for the black belt.
Carl gonna do his 40-man kumute. Kumute means fight is 40-man fight in order for him to take his first degree.
Piscaut, however, said Gunis has been training for months and this event will be a test of character and strength, but he's certain Gunis will stand the 40-man challenge and qualify. The duo departs to Australia on the 17th of October with the event to commence on the 19th to 23rd. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
To football, the Besta Cup Southern Region tournament kicked off at Bissini today. Vice Sports Minister Wesley Ramanai was on hand for the official kickoff. 19 teams from 14 different associations in Central, Milne Bay and the NCD are in the tournament.
Bringing together some of the region's best players, both men and women, the tournament is set to display some great football action as 14 men's and 5 women's teams battle hard for the top spot over the next 3 days. The Vice President of PNG Football Association, John Wesley Gonjuan, acknowledged the presence of Vice Minister before advising players to play at their best and wished the teams good luck. Vice Sports Minister Wesley Ramanai advised players to be focused on what they do best, which is playing the game, and let the administration worry about the preparation side of things.
For you guys who are here for this tournament, I want you guys to enjoy the tournament, Southern tournament. I think it comes every year, and it's good that we have the guys here, PNG FA here, and our sponsors, Besta, they keep on supporting this tournament. For the teams taking part, all the best, and may the best team win.
Having played football in the past, Minister was not afraid to show off his goal-kicking skills to mark the tournament open. To start day one of the competition, the first 2 games saw in Field 1, Hoods take on Higaturu, and in Field 2, Rabaraba take on Kamali in the men's division. The winner of the 4-day competition will advance to compete against regional winners in the PNG Football Association Besta Cup Championship next month, set to take place in Wapa Country, Ley Moresby Province. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
PNG High Performance, in partnership with Bond University of Australia and supported by the PNG government, will send local national coaches to the Gold Coast at the beginning of next month to attend a coaches summit. While on the Gold Coast, the coaches will go through a number of coaching concepts, methods and techniques, as well as how to deal with athletes and their individual sporting federations. The coaches' conference will be followed by the Athletes Sports Summit, also on the Gold Coast in November. With less than 8 days to the FIBA Melanesian Basketball Cup, 18-year-old Liam Wright, who represented Papua New Guinea in the 2015 Pacific Games, says he has big plans to pursue a career in basketball and wishes to attend university in the United States after this event. The Gentle Giant says despite not having his brother play alongside him, he is happy with the opportunity to represent Papua New Guinea.
After this, I'll be staying behind for another week, hopefully catch up with family and all those kind of things. But then I'll be heading back to Australia to play in a league called CBL. It's not the best of competition, but it's just something to do in the meantime while I prepare myself for the upcoming Big V season, which starts next April. And then midway through that season, I'll be heading off to America and hopefully attending a decent college in the States. It'll be a bit bad not playing with him, but I'm still looking forward to the opportunity of representing our country and doing the best I can.
And that ends Trukai Sports, but don't go away. We'll have further weather details after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. In the southern region, mostly fine for Port Moresby, cloudy periods for Daru and Alatau, cloudy with some showers in Kerma, becoming cloudy for Popondetta. To the Momase region, cloudy periods for Ley and Wau, becoming cloudy for Madang, mostly fine in Wewak, becoming cloudy for Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, mostly fine for Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul and Buka, partly cloudy for Kimbe and Lorengau. And in the Highlands region, mostly fine for Goroka and Kundiawa, partly cloudy for Mount Hagen, and Mendi and Wabek can expect some cloudy weather with showers over the next 24 hours.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Before we go, the Paul Barry Rugby World Cup Trophy Tour visited Sisiba Village, Agogo Camp and Lake Kutubu in its last leg of its Highlands Tour. Sisiba Village was the first stop after ending the Moro Tour. Many have embraced the trophy as it continues its PNG Tour.
From the Oil Sets camp in Moro, the Rugby World Cup trophy each day ride to Sisiba Village, a remote village in the inlands of Southern Highlands and Ella provinces. There the cup received a rousing welcome as hundreds attend to get a glimpse of the prestigious trophy where the PNG Kumuls with other 13 countries will be playing for. Students, teachers and the old villagers lined up to welcome the trophy. The World Cup was passed to Wigman players as the Oil Sets team and other tour delegation members settled in for a chat with the locals.
So time all this 14 countries or play October and November this tournament. You can look la TV na talk trophy or la pime min come up la place from the street la CBA. So se chiama mas lo kisi this trophy come la.
Locals embraced the cup's visitation, with many taking a photo shoot for memory.
Hello, Wickman, and this is the cup play, small one. This is the biggest cup that we are privileged to have in our school and the whole community can see.
Sisiba Village is one of the fortunate villages in the country to see the second oldest World Cup trophy. Before the cup left Sisiba, a footy match was played by the locals. Work was interrupted as the Pole Barrier Trophy continued its tour to Agogo camp for a short stay with the duty staff. Again, staff there made no mistake for a photo shoot with the trophy.
1, 2, 3, go!
The day ended with a chopper ride to the famous Kutubu Lake. Kutubu High School was the next stop. The cap was pulled out from its case as many mingled to be a step closer to it. Former kickboxing champion and great Stanley Nandex embraced the cup for the locals.
And so the World Cup tour is designed to do that. We want you to feel part of the World Cup. Not everyone's going to be able to get down to see games in Port Moresby, we know that. But the trophy's going to get around every province in PNG. People are going to get a chance to see it, take a photograph with it. So make sure you do take that chance. It's a really special thing.
For the Rugby World Cup Tour team, the visit will continue to other parts of the country to share this historical tour.
It's a momentous trophy. It's nearly the second oldest trophy of any World Cup in the world. The first World Cup started back in the 40s and they played for the first trophy in the mid-50s, and this trophy has now obviously been in existence for that time. It's only second to Football World Cup of all the World Cups out there, so it's a pretty impressive structure and beast that we've been able to bring around, and we're excited not only to bring it to the school but to bring it to the town and community, and thank you so much for your support.
The Rugby World Cup trophy is now in Port Moresby for the Prime Minister's stand-in this weekend before it begins its tour to the New Guinea Islands with the first stop in East New Britain province. Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV Sports.
And that's all we have for the news, sports and weather tonight. Join the EMTV News team at 6 p.m. tomorrow for more news from around Papua New Guinea. Until then, pleasant viewing. Good night.